There once was a man named Kale, who felt the heavy weight of the world on his shoulders. From his earliest days, life had presented him with one challenge after another, a relentless series of hurdles that never seemed to end. As a young boy, he faced hardship that others could not imagine. As he grew into a man, his troubles grew with him, transforming from small streams of worry into a great ocean of despair. He worked tirelessly, day and night, hoping to build a life of peace and stability. Yet, for every step he took forward, it felt as if a powerful force pushed him 2 steps back, leaving him exhausted and disheartened. The constant struggle had worn him down, chipping away at his spirit until only a flicker of hope remained. He looked at others around him and saw lives that seemed so effortless, so free from the burdens that he carried. This made his own journey feel even more difficult and lonely. He often asked himself, "Why me? Why must my path be filled with so many thorns?" The joy he once felt had faded, replaced by a persistent feeling of fatigue. He dreamed of a day when his problems would simply vanish, a day when he could finally breathe freely without the next crisis looming on the horizon. This dream of a perfect problem-free life was his only escape. Kale's heart grew heavier with each passing season. He tried everything he could think of to find lasting happiness. He chased success, thinking wealth would solve his issues. He sought distractions, hoping fleeting moments of pleasure would numb his pain. But no matter what he achieved or how he tried to escape, the underlying feeling of being overwhelmed always returned. His problems were like his own shadow, following him wherever he went, a constant reminder of his battles. He felt trapped in a cycle he could not break, a story of struggle that he was forced to live out every single day, with no end in sight. Finally, Kale reached a point where he could no longer carry his burdens alone. The endless fight had left him with no energy to continue. He felt like a lone boat tossed about in a violent storm, on the verge of sinking. He realized that waiting for the storm to pass was no longer an option, as it seemed the storm was his life itself. He needed a new perspective, a different kind of wisdom that he could not find in his everyday world. It was this deep sense of desperation that pushed him to seek out someone who might have the answers, someone who understood the nature of life and suffering in a way that he did not. With a heart full of questions and a soul weary from his journey, Kale traveled to a remote monastery nestled high in the mountains. He had heard tales of an old wise monk who lived there, a man who possessed a deep understanding of life's intricate patterns. Kale believed that if anyone could offer him solace and guidance, it would be this monk. After a long and arduous climb, he arrived at the peaceful sanctuary. He found the monk sitting calmly by a gentle stream, his presence radiating a profound sense of tranquility. Kale approached him respectfully, his own inner turmoil feeling loud in the quiet of the mountains. Kale bowed and began to share his story, his voice trembling with the weight of his accumulated sorrows. "Wise master," he began, "I have come to you because I am lost. My entire life has been a sequence of unending problems. I have fought with all my strength, but for every problem I solve, a new one appears. I am tired of this constant battle. I feel like I am waiting for a shore that I will never reach." He explained his dream of a life without any struggles, a peaceful existence where he could finally rest. He asked the monk, "When will my problems end? When will I find this peace I seek?" The monk listened with patient eyes and a compassionate smile, allowing Kale to pour out all his frustration and pain without interruption. He did not offer immediate solutions or empty words of comfort. Instead, he simply nodded, acknowledging the man's heavy burden. When Kale finished speaking, a heavy silence hung in the air, broken only by the gentle sound of the nearby stream. The monk's silence was not empty, it was filled with understanding. He saw the deep grooves of worry on Kale's face and recognized the exhaustion that lived deep within the man's spirit. He knew that simple advice would not be enough to heal such a deep wound. After a long moment, the monk spoke, his voice as calm and clear as the water flowing beside them. "Your desire for a life without problems is a natural one," he said softly. "Many people share your wish. They spend their entire lives waiting for the day when all their troubles will disappear so they can finally begin to live." He then gestured toward the flowing river. "Come," the monk invited. "Let us sit by the riverbank. I want to show you something. The answer you seek is not in my words, but in the wisdom of the world around us. Let us observe the water together, and perhaps you will find what you are looking for." Kale followed the monk to the edge of the wide, flowing river. The water moved with a steady and powerful grace, sparkling under the afternoon sun. It was a beautiful sight, yet Kale's mind was still clouded with his troubles. "Look at this river," the monk said, his gaze fixed on the moving water. "It has been flowing for thousands of years. It will continue to flow for thousands more. Tell me, what do you see?" Kale, confused, replied, "I see water, wise master. A lot of water, moving from one place to another." He wondered what this simple observation had to do with his complex and painful life. The monk smiled gently. "You are right. It is water. But I want you to wait with me. Let us sit here until all the water in this river has passed. Once the river is completely empty and dry, we can easily walk across to the other side. Then, your journey will be simple, with no obstacle to cross." Kyle looked at the monk in disbelief. "But master," he said, "that is impossible. The river will never stop flowing. The water from the mountains will always feed it. We could wait here for our entire lives, and the river would never run dry. It is an endless flow." The monk's smile widened, and he looked directly into Kale's eyes. "Exactly," he said, his voice carrying a newfound weight. "You have understood the first part of the lesson. The river will never ever stop flowing. It is its nature to flow, just as it is the nature of the sun to rise and the moon to shine. To wait for the river to run dry is to wait for an eternity for something that will never happen. You would spend your whole life waiting on this bank, never reaching the other side, watching the world from a distance, but never truly participating in it. Your life would pass you by while you wait for the impossible." Kyle stared at the river, and for the first time, he saw it not just as water, but as a powerful metaphor. The monk's words began to echo in his mind, connecting the impossible task of waiting for the river to dry up with his own lifelong wait for his problems to end. He saw the endless flow of water as an undeniable truth of nature. The continuous current was not a temporary state, it was the very essence of the river. This simple, profound observation began to plant a seed of understanding in his mind, and he started to see his own life from a completely new and transformative perspective. The monk allowed the realization to settle within Kale before he continued. "Now, think of your life," he said softly, his voice blending with the sound of the river. "The problems and challenges you face are just like this river. They will never completely stop. Life is a continuous flow of experiences, both good and bad. When you solve one problem, another will eventually appear downstream. It might be a small one, like a gentle ripple, or a large one, like a powerful rapid. This is not a curse upon you, Kyle. This is simply the nature of life itself. It is true for everyone, for the rich and the poor, the strong and the weak." Kyle looked from the monk's calm face back to the relentless river. The truth of the monk's words washed over him with the force of a great wave. All his life, he had been waiting for the river of his problems to run dry. He had been sitting on the riverbank of life, exhausted and frustrated, believing that peace was on the other side of a problem-free world. He now understood that such a world did not exist. His quest for a life without any struggles was as futile as waiting for the great river to vanish. This realization was both shocking and strangely liberating. The burden he carried was not his alone. It was a part of the human condition. "You have spent all your energy wishing the river would disappear," the monk explained. "This is why you are so tired. You have been fighting against the very nature of existence. You have been trying to stop the flow of life itself. But you cannot stop a river. You can only learn how to navigate it. The goal is not to wait for the water to go away. The goal is to find the courage and the skill to cross it. The other side is not a place without problems. It is a place of growth that you reach by facing the problems you have now. Peace is not the absence of challenges, but the strength to face them." This new understanding began to shift something deep inside Kale. The exhaustion he felt was not just from his struggles, but from his resistance to them. He had been living his life with a fundamental misunderstanding, believing his journey was meant to be a smooth, paved road, when in reality it was a wild, flowing river. He saw that every person he had ever met was also facing their own river. Some were better at building boats, some were stronger swimmers, and some, like him, were stuck on the bank, waiting for the water to part. The shared nature of this struggle made him feel less alone in his journey. With this profound shift in his perspective, Kale felt a new sense of energy rising within him. The fatigue that had plagued him for years began to recede, replaced by a quiet determination. He looked at the monk, his eyes now clear and focused. "I understand now, master," he said, his voice steady and strong. I have been waiting for the impossible. My life has been spent on the riverbank. But what do I do now? How do I cross this river if it never ends? He was no longer asking for an escape, but for a strategy. He was ready to stop waiting and start moving. The monk smiled, a warm and encouraging expression on his face. You do not have to cross the entire river all at once, he advised. You cross it one step at a time. You build a raft, you learn to swim, or you find the shallowest points to wade through. You accept that you will get wet. You accept that the current will be strong at times. But you keep moving forward. Each problem you face and overcome is like a stone you place in the river, making your next crossing a little easier. You do not gain strength by avoiding the water, you gain it by navigating the current. This is how you grow. Kyle looked at the river one last time. It no longer appeared as an insurmountable obstacle but as a path, a challenge that invited him to become stronger. He understood that his scars were not signs of failure, but marks of his attempts to cross. He realized that courage was not the absence of fear, but the decision to take a step into the water despite it. He thanked the monk, his heart overflowing with gratitude, not for providing an easy answer, but for giving him the wisdom to face the difficult truth of life. He left the mountain not as a man free from problems, but as a man free from the illusion that a problem-free life was possible. From that day forward, Kale's approach to life was forever changed. He stopped waiting for his struggles to end. Instead, he faced each one with newfound courage and resilience. He knew the river of life would always flow, bringing with it new challenges and unexpected currents. But now, he was no longer afraid of the water. He understood that the purpose of life was not to arrive at a peaceful shore, but to become a skilled and courageous navigator of the river itself. And in facing his challenges head-on, he found the strength, peace, and purpose he had been searching for all along.